right. Y'all just wasting your time on the wrong stinking thing. Okay. We got to have a conversation, okay? If you write and record your own music at home, you're a home studio musician, you're a producer, you're a songwriter, artist, you're recording your own music, you're producing your own music, you want to release it to the world, stop watching mixing tutorials for the love of okay, so real quick, if you are a professional mixing engineer, like that's what you do, you mix clients, guess what? This video is not for you. This video is for music producers, artists who are self-producing, doing their own thing, okay? Because chances are, you're gonna be watching this video and going, finally, someone frickin' said it. This is gonna be a doozy. Let me start by just saying this. Mixing is a very important part of the process, okay? So I'm gonna say that. It's super important. Now you can't say I never said that. I wanna make sure that you watch all the way till the end because I'm not gonna just talk about why you should stop watching mixing tutorials. I'm also gonna talk about what you should be doing instead, okay? In all honesty, this is something that I think is not the fault of any home studio musician. This is not your fault that you're watching mixing tutorials. You know whose fault it is? It's the fault of all the YouTube production channels that all they teach is mixing. All they preach is, if only you were better at mixing, then your stuff wouldn't suck. If only you knew how to use EQ, compression, reverb, delay, then your stuff wouldn't sound like garbage. And guess what? It's not true. Because chances are you've watched 100 tutorials on mixing by now, and you're probably thinking, my stuff still doesn't actually sound that great. Why is that? Now, here's the real reason why you should not be spending all of your time watching mixing tutorials. The real reason is that you are starting at the end. You're starting at the end. Now, let me give you an illustration to prove my point. Let's say that you decide one day, I'm gonna build my own house, right? Everyone's gonna be like, wow, that's really cool. You're gonna build your own house. That's great. And you're like, yeah. So, you need to dig your foundation, right? You gotta get concrete. You gotta actually make the foundation. You gotta frame the house. You gotta start building the whole thing up, right? Like you have to, make the structure of that house, right? Cool. And then you like do all the other stuff, right? And so then when your friend says to you, so Nathan, where are you gonna start? What are you gonna do? And you're like, I'm gonna start with painting. Come again? Now here's why that's so absurd. You don't even have walls yet. Like you haven't even broken ground and you're gonna start with painting. That is so absurdly ridiculous. And that's basically what it's like when you're just starting out producing your own music at home. Like you're just getting into this thing, you're learning how to do it, you're getting into it, you're making music and you're like, why does this suck? Why does this sound like garbage? Why does this not sound anywhere remotely close to what I hear on Spotify or on the radio? The reason why is because you're trying to paint when you don't even have walls. Mixing is post-production, okay? There is an actual systematized process of how to create a track from beginning to end. You start with a song, you start with songwriting, then that goes into the actual producing phase, which is where you are building an arrangement, you're actually deciding what sounds you're gonna use, you're tracking material, you're then editing that material, and then when you're done with all of that, guess what? You got a song that's recorded, it's been produced, the arrangement's done, and guess what? I'm gonna tell you a little secret. If you're doing it right, that should already sound really freaking good. And if you're doing it wrong, it's not gonna sound good. It's really that simple. The thing that shocks me is how a lot of people don't understand that a pre-mixed production versus a final mixed production, they're gonna sound different, right? The mixed version is gonna sound polished, it's gonna sound great, but here's the deal. Most of my rough mixes that I've not even mixed yet, sound better than most amateur producers' final production that's like mastered. And the reason is because I put a huge focus on actually producing great music, okay? Mixing and producing are two completely different stages in the process, and they are two completely different skill sets. Now, there's a lot of overlap, right? You can use EQ as a mixing tool. You can also use EQ as a producing tool to shape specific sounds into very specific things. You can use reverb as a mixing tool to create space, and you can also use reverb as a very specific effect that you are then going to print down, and that is actually going to be a part of what you send to the mixing engineer, or if you're doing your own mixing, that's baked in. That's actually a part of the producing process. Oh, okay. By the way, I'm not mad. I just get really passionate about this. I'm really passionate about this because I really hate seeing so many people who were like me. That was me when I got started. I was watching tons of mixing tutorials. And it's like a dime a dozen. This is the last EQ video you'll ever need to watch. And then guess what? I actually worked under a producer. And guess what I found out? And then I actually worked under a producer. And guess what I found out? It actually has way more to do with just creating phenomenal music and phenomenal arrangements, getting great sounds, great source, tracking things well, getting great performances and editing, and having a very systemized approach to actually creating this whole thing from beginning to end. And then guess what at the end? It's time to mix. Well, then mix. Which brings me to my next point. Mixing is only like 10 to 15% of the entire process. It's like this much of the process. So why are you spending all of your time on a part of the process that's literally like itty bitty space? Why? It makes no sense. Please stop. And let me back up here for a second, okay? If you are creating productions that already sound super great, then mixing is probably what you need to focus on. Like seriously, I don't want to sit here and just say like, no one should do it. Like my course reflects that. I actually teach mixing in my course now. But guess what? It's at the very, very end because you need to have context. You need to understand what it is that the mixing process even is in the first place before you start just like diving in head first and like, let's learn compression. It's like, do you know how to arrange? Nope. Mixing is not where the music making happens. This is just a fact, 100% fact. Mixing is not where the music making happens, and it drives me nuts. Like any professional mixing engineer is going to know that. They know that because here's the thing. If you are a producer and then you hire a mixing engineer and you send the mixing engineer all your multi-tracks, you're like, here we go. We're ready to do this. We're ready to get this thing mixed. And guess what? The song sucks. The production sucks. The arrangement sucks. The performances suck. You didn't edit your crap. Guess what they're going to say? I can't help you. The only mixing engineers who say, I can help you, I can make that sound awesome, are fakers because you can't. Any professional mixing engineer is going to know that if the producer is not doing the majority of the legwork, they can't help you. It's like already bad at that point. You cannot polish a turd. I mean, you can polish a turd, but it's still a turd. Just maybe looks slightly better. I said I'm not going to get mad. I'm passionate. I'm not mad. I actually like talking about this stuff. So here's the thing. I get sent a lot of productions from many of you. Many of you DM me on Instagram, send me emails saying, hey, can you listen to my mix? Listen to my mix. And that's how you say it too. You guys realize that? That's how you say it. Listen to my mix. Why am I listening to your mix? I want to listen to your song. Like that's what like the average person is doing. The average person is not listening to the mix. We're listening to a song. And I'm not saying that to just like call my audience out. That's not it at all. It kind of cracks me up because I literally used to do the same thing. This was me like when I got started for like the first 4 years. Like no joke, that was me. And then once you kind of realize, like you kind of pull the curtain up a little bit and you realize you kind of peer through that window and you start realizing, oh, like mixing is actually not actually like that big of a thing. Yet you're spending thousands of dollars on plugins that you're probably never going to use. You probably don't even know how to use, but you know, it's cool. It's sexy, right? Whatever. So most of these productions that I get sent, when you're saying, hey, can you listen to my mix? What do you think, right? Most of the time, and when I say most of the time, I literally mean like 9 out of 10 times, the issue is not a mix-related issue. It's not a mix-related issue. It's the issues that I've already talked about so far. How many times have you listened to music where maybe the mix is kind of like, it's not that great, but everything else was just so good, you don't care. That's what you should be aiming for. If you're just getting started, you should be saying, you know what, mixing, I know that's important. Mixing is not the thing I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on creating amazing, riveting, compelling music that makes me feel something and makes my audience feel something that makes them get invested in finishing the entire song all the way to the end. Great example, Jacob Collier. If you don't know who he is, go look him up. Now, he's not a pop musician. He's kind of in that like pop funk jazz, like really hard jazz, like with pop. But if you go to his early videos, his mixes are not that impressive. They're not. Those videos are so good. His music is so good. You might not even appreciate the style he's in. That's okay. But you have to appreciate the incredible level of skill, the incredible level of arrangement and performance and ability that goes into all of that. That's not mixing. Why is his music so good? It's not mixing. It's not. So a lot of you guys already know this, but like I teach this stuff, right? Like I have a production course and I've been, for the better part of this year, been teaching producers how to make great music. And guess what? The majority of the time, we are not talking about mixing because the majority of the time, those are not the things that require the most work. So let's actually talk about what you should be doing. Now, the whole thing with this channel, you might notice, guess what? This Nathan Larsen guy, he doesn't really make mixing videos on his YouTube channel. Why is that? Because guess what? I get a lot of y'all who ask me to make mixing videos and I don't. And I'm not really planning on doing that because no one else is really focusing on the big thing, on the big picture. And that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on teaching guys here on this YouTube channel how to make great music. Like what actually makes a great production. So here's what you should be focusing on. Great songwriting, making sure that your songs are compelling, having really good song structure, having good melody, chord progressions that are actually compelling and providing the emotion of the song. Then we're ready to move into the producing stage, arranging. That is the art or the craft or the skill set of actually determining how the whole thing on a timeline is going to be built up. Are there drums here? Is there bass here? Am I gonna do strings, piano, guitar, bass, vocals? What's my vocal arrangement gonna look like? Am I doing just one lead vocal? Am I doing double vocals, triple vocals? Am I doing a vocoder effect? Am I doing background vocals here? Am I doing gang vocals? Am I gonna do the vocal throw here? Am I gonna do reversed vocals to transition into here? Am I gonna be using swishes and reversed percussion to get into this moment? That's producing. That's getting an arrangement built. That right there is like 50+% of everything that I spend my time doing. Okay, then you do that. You get something sounding really good. You're leveling, you're making sure things aren't like blown out of proportion and stuff. You want to kind of get things in the right ballpark. This is like getting kind of a quote unquote rough mix. And we're just talking about balancing. We're not even talking about like compression and stuff like that. Then you need to edit your stuff, edit your vocals. If you're tracking live anything, you have got to edit that stuff. And then we can get into the mixing process. Okay, so you need to be focusing on all of those things and really working hard. That's why you should subscribe to this channel because that's what I focus on in this channel. You go through my library of videos here. That is the essence of what this channel is. That is the direction this channel is going in the future. So if that sounds like you're thinking, Nathan, that's what I need help with, subscribe to this channel. And in the meantime, you can go get a free session breakdown. This is actually a module for my course. I'm giving it away just for free for about the next month until the course actually launches officially. It's a new reimagined version of the course that I've been working on for this last year and actually working with producers already on for the last year. But I'm giving that away for free. The link is in the description down below. You can find it in the corner here as well. But with that said, we'll see you in the next video.